Hey everybody, this is Dilyana Mileva, and I'm excited to bring you Menopause Made Easy, a podcast designed to provide you tips and strategy to navigate the changes in woman's body, mind, and spirit with more grace and ease. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you are updated of each episode release. Alright, let's dive in. Welcome. Come again, another episode to Menopause Made Easy. Today I'm with Risa. Let me know if I pronounce correctly your name, Risa.
Yes, it's Risa Gall.
Risa, go. Nice to see you and thank you to be in the show today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so Risa, let us know who are you, what you're doing, and what inspiring to do your work.
Yes, so I call myself a self-love and relationship coach for women. And so whether they are in a relationship that they're struggling in, they're not happy in, or they're maybe single and really wanting to find a new life partner, but they don't want to keep repeating the same patterns, I help them really heal their relationship with themselves so that they can let go any old patterns, any unhealthy patterns, really get into good, right, loving relationship with themselves so they can create healthy relationships based on being in a good relationship with themselves. Yeah.
How you come to this idea to do what you do?
Well, we teach what we've learned from our own life experience, right? And so that really has been my life journey is how do I love myself? How do I like myself? And I struggled a lot with looking to other people, looking to relationships to kind of give me that love, that validation that I did not know how to give to myself. And I ended up marrying a man who, well, I waited until I was 38 years old to get married because I knew that I did not want to be dependent on anyone else for my source of self-esteem, for me to feel good about myself. So I ended up marrying a very nice man. And about 7 years into our marriage, he relapsed into alcoholism and depression. And I didn't realize until that happened how much I really was still depending on him to be that source for me, that source of love and security and validation. And so that's really my passion is I know that, our relationships are only going to be as healthy as our own relationship with ourselves.
How does come affect the women who going through menopause? Many women going through divorce in this stage of their life, they decide that they're not fulfilling in the relationship, so they're looking for something new, or they just decide to leave the marriage because of some emotional reason. Do you have observation about the relationship in menopause?
Yes, thank you for asking. And I work with so many women in midlife who are at that point where they've maybe been in a relationship for a long time that hasn't been working for a long time. And there's a lot of reasons why that happens. But I would just encourage anyone who, we get into menopause, we get into midlife, and we start to, I think, really pay more attention to what we need and what we want. And, we're at that point in our lives where, we're asking ourselves, how long do I want to keep doing this? Is this how I want to be spending the rest of my life? Right. So, first of all, I just really encourage you to honor how you feel if you're in a relationship that you feel like it isn't working. And I always say real clarity emerges when we get into right relationship with ourselves. Because if we get to the root of a lot of times what the struggles are, sometimes they can be improved. Sometimes they can be repaired when we're willing to kind of look within ourselves and see what's my part in this? What are the patterns maybe that I have running? And when we sort of clean up our side of the street, I call that my relationship clarity process. We can see if it's possible to transform our relationships starting from within ourselves, sort of, transforming from the inside out. I look within myself. I look at any patterns that I have running. What's my part? How have I contributed to this? And it usually, not to sound, put blame on yourself, but it's like we all have our stuff. We all have our patterns that are running and usually are pretty unconscious. And so whether or not the relationship is something that you are going to end up staying in or not, it's important for us to look at what's my growth opportunity here, just like I did when I was in my marriage. I had to take a hard look at myself and really see the ways that I wasn't showing up in the way that I wanted to. So, we take ourselves with us where we go. So that's why divorce statistics for repeat marriages are so high if we don't take the opportunity to learn what is my opportunity here right now for growth and learning. And if we are going to get to that point where we get that clarity that we don't want to stay, we want to be able to navigate that with as much grace and love as possible, so everyone can come out as emotionally intact as possible, because it's hard, and my heart goes out to you if you're not happy in your relationship right now. That's our first place. We have to look within ourselves, honor how we feel, get some support to do your own inner work so you can find out if it's possible for things to improve or not, if that's what you want, or just getting the clarity you need. And it's a lot, for sure.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're under pressure, when you experience all these symptoms, that stress, that overwhelm, that tiredness. And when you see that you don't have enough support for other part, I think the conversation is very important in this moment to let the other know what you're going through, that you need a little bit space maybe. What do you need? It's very important maybe for women to learn how to communicate their needs. It's part of their self-love, I think, so that they can manage their relationship in a better way. But without communication and without understanding from other part also what actually woman going through, they need to be aware that it's not only physiological, it's a mental, it's emotional, it's a lot of things going on in this moment in a woman's life. So she started to questioning, is she fulfilled? Is she happy? Why she's not happy? And in this moment, I think conversation is very important. But what you can suggest as a practical tips that the woman can take to improve their relationship when they going through menopause?
Yes. So you really spoke right to it, Dilyana, is self-care really is number one. Communication, of course. Of course, that's a huge challenge, I know, for a lot of people. But the more you can communicate to your partner what's going on for you, so hopefully they can understand. And I know that's not always easy depending on your relationship and how you're able to communicate with your partner. But if you can, of course, that's helpful. But really, that's number one, is let's get our focus sort of off the partner, off everything that's not working. And I really encourage women to just kind of turn your attention back onto yourself, even just for now. Step one, we don't have control over other people and how they're going to show up. And we can get really frustrated when we keep focusing on what's not working. So that would be really a good way to start, is if we can just sort of get our focus back on ourselves. This is a good bottom line question you can ask yourself anytime you're feeling any difficult emotions, is just, what do I need to do to take care of myself right now?
And what do you think? Why so many women is not happy in their relationship?
Yeah. So, it really, if we really dig down and drill down to what the root cause is, it does come back to our relationship with ourselves. And maybe, we made choices at a time where, like, for myself, I made the best choice I could at the time. But then the motivation for that was I was still running my patterns, these patterns of needing that other person to be that love and that security for me. And so I think that it's kind of cultural too. I call it normalized codependency. It's just, what are we expect, are our expectations realistic, or am I looking to my partner to really give me something that first I need to give myself? And we sort of teach other people how to treat us. Well, we attract from where we are. So that's, first of all, maybe it's not a match anymore. Or just, even if it is something that you want to try and improve and save, it's looking within ourselves. Are my expectations realistic? Am I looking to my partner to give me something that first I need to be able to give myself. And I think that's where we get into a lot of trouble. Is like we all have our patterns. Your partner has their patterns. And we have to be able to just take responsibility for ourselves and how we feel. And the biggest thing, Juliana, honestly, is that most of us just don't have the tools and the practices we need to be able to sit and hold space for ourselves to be able to be present with our emotions. And that's kind of a natural thing that happens. Our brain's protective mechanism is we don't want to feel stuff that doesn't feel good. But that's one of the main tools that I share with my clients, and I can share it with you here too today if we have time. But there was a quote that said, all man's problems are because of an inability to just sit quietly in a room by himself.
Yes. This quiet moment, this me time, this self-reflection, and maybe journaling, and then just turn and question yourself what actually make me happy, how I can make myself happy without depend of somebody else. It's so important. So what you can suggest, what practical tips you can give?
Yes. So here is a really beautiful practice that's short and simple. And I call it a self love power practice. So, like you said, taking that quiet time, just even a few minutes, or especially when you're upset about something, if you can take a few minutes by yourself and just close your eyes and take a breath and just kind of tune into your body and just ask yourself, what am I feeling? Just even acknowledging, they actually did a lot of studies. If you can just name the feeling, that automatically calms your nervous system down a little bit. So, just like I said, because that's our natural inclination is to distract or avoid and or suppress, but that just creates a lot of internal stress when we're not processing how we feel. And so if we can just stop and name, I feel angry right now because, so and so said so and such or did such and such. So just naming how you feel. I'm angry right now. I'm sad, frustrated, whatever the feeling is, and just notice, where do I feel it in my body? Where do I feel it in my body? And so we're just holding space for ourselves, kind of like just taking a step back and sort of moving into that observer mode, that witnessing mode. If I can just imagine, like I'm just taking a step back and I'm just going to notice, I'm just going to observe, what do I feel? Where do I feel it in my body? And then even just putting your hands on that part of your body, maybe my heart feels really heavy, or maybe my throat feels really constricted, and just send that part of you some love. It's usually like a younger part of ourselves. I do a lot of the inner child work, but what do you feel? Where do you feel it in your body? And then just give it your loving attention. And a lot of times when we just acknowledge to ourselves how we're feeling, that's enough to just let it come up and let it come out. Emotion is energy in motion. And so emotions are just energy that needs to move. So that's why we get into trouble when we're not allowing the emotions to come up and come out, right? Just like a little child who's upset, they don't hold back, right? They let it all out, and 90 seconds later, they can be happy and laughing again. But a lot of times they just need to be heard and acknowledged. So we can be that sort of loving parent to ourselves. And like I said, usually that part that's upset, it's an old part, it's a younger part that needs our love and attention. And that's more of the inner child work. But just for all of you who are listening right now today, to be able to hold that space for yourself. What do I feel? Where do I feel it in my body? And just breathe into it and just give it your loving attention. And then just notice, maybe it'll dissipate a little. Maybe you then want to do some journaling and see what's coming up for you. Yeah.
So it's important, it's not to hold in on these negative emotions and to release it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Physical. If you're really angry or frustrated, something physical to just get that energy out is really good too. But it's really important for us to learn how to acknowledge how we feel and just be able to hold that space for ourselves. Yeah.
What do you say is one more important things that women need to know in order to create a loving, fulfilling relationship?
Yeah, like I said, it really does start with us. The love we want, it does start with us. So people can only meet you where you've met yourself. So that's always a place to start. Looking at my own relationship with myself. Am I, wanting, another actually an interesting thing to ask is like just noticing what am I wanting from my partner? I want more love. I want more attention. I want more affection. I want more communication. And then a question you can ask is, well, am I giving that to myself? Am I giving myself the respect, the attention, the love, the care that I'm maybe also wanting from that other person? And that doesn't mean we shouldn't want it from other people or that we don't deserve to have it, but people can't meet you where you haven't met yourself. So you'd be amazed when we start to do some of these self love practices and get into better alignment with ourselves, into more right, loving relationship with the truth of who we are, aside from the old patterns and the old stories, then that is where our power is to start to have influence then in how others are showing up for us too. But we first have to show up for ourselves in that way.
Yeah, you cannot operate with a glass half full. If you're not harmonized, nobody around us can be in harmony. So prioritize your need, prioritize yourself. What is coming up? What you're working on right now?
Yes, thank you for asking. So, I have an amazing free 3-day mini retreat for women, and it's just an hour a day for 3 days called Unshakable Self Love, 3 sacred steps to come home to yourself and rewrite your love story. So, we're really just going to take a deeper dive into all of this stuff we're talking about. Well, that's nice. Yes, we understand we have to love ourselves before we can expect to receive that fully from other people. But how do you actually do that? And so we're going to really look at how do we reclaim our worth? How do we let go? Notice, first of all, these patterns, these unconscious patterns that we're running, become aware of them, and then get some tools on how do we release them so we can really show up as the women we want to be first for ourselves, and then to be the partner that we want to be in that relationship, and to find out if you're questioning if it's possible for things to transform or not. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It becomes sort of an experiment. So it's going to be a beautiful 3-day experience where you'll come out with a lot of practical tools on how do I take care of myself in this situation? How do I love myself? How do I let go of any of these old patterns and get the clarity that I'm looking for about my relationship? So it's going to be June 17, 18, and 19 from 10 to 11 Pacific in the morning, or 1 to 2 Eastern in the afternoon. And there will be replays if you can't make it live. So I know you're going to pop a link into the comments and people can just go ahead and save your seat. And if you're registered, you will get an opportunity to see the replays. So yes, it's going to be a beautiful gathering. I'm looking forward to sharing all this juicy information with everyone because I feel like we all really deserve to feel that good about ourselves. Whether, no matter what anyone else is doing, like we can learn how to take charge of our own emotional well-being and show up for ourselves and loving acceptance for ourselves and just feel good about who we are. And that's really the basis of everything.
Amazing. It looks like you'll be a nice 3-day event turning towards yourself, take care about yourself, and learn what to do and how to do it to prioritize yourself and this learning this self-love because we like women put everybody first and then we were in the was that you take care. But now is the moment to turn your a little bit more attention towards yourself and prioritize yourself. So this self-care, self-love after that bring more love to everybody who is in touch with you. So I highly encourage you to grab this link will be in the show notes so that you're gonna when you're gonna download the episode and listen this episode you're gonna have it. So everybody who you need that or you think that need, invite your friends or who think you that can benefit of this event. I think that will be amazing event and that will help you to really find inside this self-love and love yourself more. Thank you. Thank you so much to be with me today, Risa. Thank you. It's amazing work that you do out there for improve women relationship. It's so, so important. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, all the listeners, thank you to be in this episode again. I hope you can subscribe for this workshop coming up. And I see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody. Thank you for tuning into Menopause Made Easy. You can check out more episodes on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and your favorite podcast apps. Check out the show notes for any website linked to this episode, including where to connect with me on social media. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you'll be updated of each episode release. And visit me at menopausesupportacademy.com for all podcast updates as well. Appreciate you dropping by.